Okay, hi friends. Welcome to our first TFC community shoe review. I'm here with Leah, Liz, and Matthew, and we're going to share some insights about the shoes that we're wearing and how they fit into the criteria of natural footwear, why we love them, what we use them for, and if there's anything that we would change about them, what would that be? So we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to start with Liz, and she's going to take us through her daily drivers, a couple pairs because we are having trouble choosing between, and then we'll rotate through each person, and with any time left over, we'll save that for like question Q&A between each other about the shoes if we have questions to ask each other. So go for it, Liz.
Okay, so my first pair is actually the Earth Runner sandals. I actually finally invested in a pair of Barefoot sandals this year. So this is new for me. I've just worn my Vivos in the summertime, and I question why I waited so long to get them. They fit all the 4 Fs. They are foot shaped, they are flat, they are very flexible, and they feel the ground. They really allow you to feel the ground. I'm sorry, I don't know the specific model of these. They are ones that do have that grounding or earthing magnet in the bottom, which is pretty cool. And so it has the thread, the magnetized thread throughout. Not really a feature it wasn't a determining feature to get them, but I thought it was really neat to get these ones. The moment I put them on, I've loved them. And even when I'm in my house, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still wearing them because they're so comfortable, and I do kick them off. I've worn them just for basically everything and anything for the summertime. So to the beach, out walking, I wore them hiking. And then when I was in ground that I felt comfortable being barefoot, I just ripped these off. And then when I put them back on, I was able to just walk in the water to clean all the mud off my feet and then have good grounds with them. So these are my favorite go-to right now. And the second pair that I really wanted to touch base on are the runners that I'm using, because I'm noticing a lot of people in the community are asking about what people are wearing for runners. And these ones are the 5-finger V run. They're Vibram, and I really do like them. They do fit, again, all the 4 Fs. They are foot shaped, but not as much as I would really like. They're very flexible, and I certainly feel the ground. When I go running, I love wearing them. It's like I'm not really wearing anything. The foam on the bottom and the shape of it, I find, is a little tight for my feet. I don't think I have overly big feet, but I notice my feet hang off the sides where this foam is, especially around the balls of the feet and the toes here, and all throughout the arch. The heel is fine, but here I'm like, that's how my foot pattern comes out. So it's hanging off the bottom of the foot or of the foam. Otherwise, they're a really great fit. This here, I don't know, in the pictures on the product page, it looked like this was a lot longer, and I've got it maxed out and I can barely fit my foot into that, even with that stretching. So that's another kind of downfall to it. But once they're on, they fit like a glove. It's like wearing a wetsuit, very comfortable. And I do love that it has the really bright sole to it, which is kind of fun when you're running. So.
You know, I realized that I probably should ask, like, if people are willing to share, like, where you live and what the climate is like. That seems like relevant information, right?
Absolutely. So I'm in Eastern Canada, in an often forgot about area of Canada, in a place called Nova Scotia. So it's similar, I guess, to Boston if you're in the States. So we get wet winters, freeze thaws, it's cold, today's humid. So we get a lot of mixture of everything. So yeah, that's where I'm located.
And so you use the Vibram 5 fingers for running? Like, what's your mileage? What kind of, like, is it, are you a long distance runner?
I used to just do like 5 and 10 Ks, and then I had an ankle injury. So I'm kind of in this in between of recovering from other health things, as well as kind of getting back into my running from this injury that I still have no diagnosis for. But right now I'm running about 3 to 5 kilometers, and that's about the pace that I'm at. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right, so then you have 2 other pairs, and we'll rotate through.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Matthew, how about you?
Okay, Hello, everyone. I live in Mobile, Alabama with Ruth. So we're here, it's super hot. We're from California, so it's tough during the summer, especially. We're not used to such extreme heat, and I like to grew up wearing flip-flops and stuff like that. So when I do have to wear a shoe, it's generally for playing sports or for work. So I brought one that can kind of span both of those. And here it is, it's the Zero Prio. And I bought this probably about, I would say two years ago, and it's still going. I mean, I think it fits the 4Fs. It's foot shaped, it's flexible, it has good feel on the ground. You can add a little bit of extra support in the insole, which I do when I'm playing like on a hard court on tennis. And it's got a wide toe box, which I think is really good because I also wear toe spacers, and not all kind of natural footwear allows that. It's also fairly affordable, and it's got a lot of color. So I think those are things that are going for it. Is like I've been listening to a lot of the podcasts and people are talking about the importance of it being fashionable. And as Liz was saying, having the ability to have a little bit of color sometimes is nice if you like. This is something that I can wear. I work as a college professor, so it's not super formal. So I can wear this in a classroom with jeans, and I can also wear it on a tennis. A lot of tennis friends would say it's a little bit too minimalist in the bottom. It doesn't have enough stack height to afford, but I find it to really be a really perfect shoe if you have kind of strong feet and you've been wearing kind of shoes that allow you to be comfortable with the kind of 4Fs. I think it's a really good shoe for all those types of things. So that's what I would recommend if really being able to do kind of sports, or there's different types of other colors as well. So it's something you can also wear, if you're kind of in a more relaxed social setting as well.
Very good. That is cool. Can you just show the foot shaped again, like show the bottom of the shoe and show then the top of the shoe? Yeah. Okay, cool.
One other thing is that the sole, the reason I've had other shoes I play tennis with, but this sole is incredible. Like if I don't know, for running and stuff, I've heard that they wear out. I'm not a big runner except in sports, but when you're on a hard court, I mean, this always wears out in tennis shoes, and I've been using this for years. I mean, it's incredible, and it's fairly affordable. So I think, it's a nice shoe to get into because it offers a wide enough variety of kind of, I guess, colors, and then also price point. It's not super expensive relative to some other shoes, and it's really durable. So that's another thing I like is the quality of the sole, I guess.
Anything you would change if you could about that shoe?
I don't know. I mean, I like Zero's offerings. I keep intending to go buy other types of shoes because they have slight versions on of it. They're slightly more, and but it won't wear out. So, I mean, in the past, I used to have a lot of different types of shoes, and now I just keep wearing this one. For a while, I thought I wanted a little bit more stack height, but that was simply putting in insole, which I took out of another pair of minimalist shoes. So I think it really allows you to kind of play around with if you need a little bit more support, or kind of like, cushioning on the bottom, or if you want to go a little bit more, minimalist in the stack height. I think it allows for all those types of things. So nothing really that I would change given, its price point and the types of things you can do with it.
Okay, Leah, how about you? Let's take, so to be fair, Leah she's coming to us. She's my my colleague, my liaison from Paluva. And so I invited her to join the community, and she joined, and now she's joining us for our community shoe review. So she's going to talk about her daily drivers and what she loves about them.
Yes, hi again to everybody. So I'm representing, as Ruth already mentioned, Paluva for us. Paluva is founded by Mark Sisson, who also founded Primal Kitchen, and now he wanted to make his own foot brand, shoe brand, because over the past 20 years, he has been wearing Vibrams for a really long time, and he noticed that the cushioning is too small and that the design could be improved. So that's how we came out with a shoe like this. It has also the 5 toes that you can see. The 4 Fs will be flexible, which it is, and then you can feel the ground, especially with those toes. And then it's flat. I mean, it is, Ruth and I talked about this. It's going up a little bit, but this will be evened out once you have your foot. And it's just because the like, especially because I have them really tight. I don't know if you can see this. It just gets pulled up, and then we have foot shaped.
So I was asking her about toe springs. So I'm trying to stay away from shoes that have any toe spring in them, so I can do the work, so that my toes can do the work themselves. And that was one of the concerns I had, because I'm testing this shoe right now. And I've never worn a Vibram 5 finger. So Leah, what shoes were you wearing before? And then I'm assuming that you love the shoe, otherwise you wouldn't represent
Yes.
it. What were you wearing before? And then we had some conversation about your bunions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So before I was what was I wearing before? Oh, there's like a German brand that I found when I was in Germany, which is like a sock shoe. I just got like a lot of blisters because of my other shoes when I was walking in them. And so we found that shoe, and it just had like a sole, and that's how I got into like the really thin minimalist shoes. Before that, I was wearing just a lot of Nikes and the Nike Free, and then Birkenstocks. And interestingly, I've been wearing Birkenstocks when I like walk outside, just because they're like right by my door, and like when I like walk the dogs real quick, and I experienced like really bad foot pain because I noticed I walk a lot on my outsides, and whenever I put those on, I feel like it's evened out better. And this is not just like a sale. This is like really something. I felt my foot almost felt bruised after I was wearing the Birkenstocks. I don't know, what exactly that is, but that's just an experience I just had like over a week, like about a week ago. And then I'm from Germany. You can probably hear it in my accent. And I was telling Ruth before, like in Germany, like it's been really pushed to, like, for example, wear insoles. And Kyle, the co-founder of Poluva, he also always said like insoles is like almost like giving up. Like they're great if you always want to wear insoles, but sometimes they don't fit in your whatever basketball shoes or tennis shoes, and you want to feel comfortable all the time. So it's better to work on things instead of doing basically like an easy route, like not like getting a hip replacement, even though you could fix it by just stretching a lot. So how did I just get there? Yeah, I right. I was just telling you about the insoles. And so I had bunions, or I have bunions. I have one on my right side and one on my left side, and I got one operated. And because I just always had a lot of pain, especially in my Nike Airs, where it was really tight and really hard. And I don't know if you ever had that, but when you like literally go to sleep and you don't even wear shoes, but still your bunion really hurts. So I got that removed on one side, and now that I'm wearing this shoe, I feel like I don't have the problem anymore on my other side. Like even though I still have one foot with one bunion, I can like wear the shoe like without any problems. I haven't had bunion pain in probably 2 years. Because I had samples of these. We just launched in April. And so that's been great. I feel like my toes are getting a spread. I have really noticed that my toes, because of the bunions, they go like this. And now they're like, I can spread my toes finally again. So that's something I really noticed. And I just wanted to also show, like, this is our other shoe. This is like a slip-on. Maybe that's, like some people have different preferences. So this is a slip-on. This is the Miami. It's more like a more casual thing. And then we have another one that I don't have right now, which I have been willing to order for such a long time now, but it's a leather shoe, which would be good, for example, if you want to wear like a gray shoe. It's like a gray leather shoe. It looks really high quality. It is really high quality. So like jeans and like a white shirt, and then you can just go out for dinner. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. So I am actually reviewing that Palooba shoe right now, so I'm not going to share my review about that particular brand and that I'm testing the strand, but I actually have been wearing that. Well, first of all, just to say, like, I didn't expect to like that shoe at all. I told Leah, like, I never had worn any individual toes before, and it was so weird just slipping my foot in there. I got like immediately kind of claustrophobic and my foot got hot, but I kept wearing it because she sent me a pair, and I was like, well, I gotta at least give it a shot. And now I freaking love those shoes, and they are becoming quickly my daily driver. But I will say that when you talked about like having something by the door to slip on just to go outside, is the shoe I'm going to talk about right now, which is a Saguaro actually. And it's one of their water shoes. And I keep this by the door, and I'm going to just talk about this really quick because it is my daily driver in the sense that like I get up and we don't really wear shoes in the house. So like it's right by the door, and you know, to take the garbage down to the dumpster or whatever, I just slip this right on, and it's super cute. And I'm wearing this, I'm wearing these two colors a lot this summer. And it just so happens that I have this particular shoe, and it's really easy to slip on with that same kind of like Velcro release thing. It seems like it's a new feature for a lot of shoes. So this is a pretty cool model. It's a foot shaped. So you can see that it fits the 4F criteria. So it is foot shaped, and it is very flexible. I can twist and bend it backwards. Bending backwards is a new test for me. Like some shoes can go this way and this way, but if you try to bend it backwards, and I'm a person who prefers to go barefoot more than anything. Like I would rather not wear shoes if at all possible. So I really, really, really like to feel the ground beneath me. And another reason why is I play tennis and I love it, but I have a mild knee injury from an ACL reconstruction. There's a Baker cyst behind my left knee. And I talk about this a lot because I actually don't feel good if I have too much cushion. Like I irritate because if I can't feel the ground really, really well beneath me, I overdo it on my left knee, and it becomes irritated and swollen. And so I need to have a very thin sole for most of the time. So I really like this because it's like probably a 7 millimeters between my foot and the ground, and I can remove the insole if I want 5 millimeters. So this one's pretty good. I can just slip it in to run to the garden or run to the garbage can or get the mail or something. And then it's pretty cute for summertime. The one thing I would say, and this is happening a lot, I notice with natural shoes, is that it's kind of sneaky. I don't know how to say this. It's not quite foot shaped in that the big toe right here. So like you can even kind of see like the big toe actually points inward, right? I don't know if you're experiencing this, but I think in order for natural shoe companies to get away with looking like a normal shoe, they're sneaking the widest part at the forefoot right here, when the widest part really needs to be at the very tips of the toes. So my toe, like Leah was saying, it wants to point inward, and I have a bunion on my left foot that's more significant than my right foot. So even when I slip this shoe on, the toe wants to push inward instead of really truly splaying. So that's one thing I'm just noticing that's a little bit and you can even kind of see right here, like you can kind of see that there's like an actual little bunion shape right there, and then the toe goes in. And I noticed that that's what my foot actually does inside the shoe. So I tend to not wear this for long periods of time, but I do love it for just buzzing around the community or riding my bike and stuff. So that's the shoe I wanted to share today. And then now I wanted to just open it up for question and answers, and just kind of like chatting between us if we have questions for each other, and then we'll wrap it up, and then we'll do it again next month with a new theme and such like that. So let's do that. What I was gonna do is try to show you Craig's video, and his shoe, which he reviews. So before we started this call, when I put the invitation out, if somebody couldn't make it to the call, I invited them to create a video sharing their shoe and going through the 4Fs. And one of our community members, Craig, did that. And he's reviewing a Barefoot shoe, literally called the Barefoot shoe. It's BEAR. And he has a video, but I think I'm just going to include it and edit it in. So when I put out the final video to our community, he'll be in there rather than me trying to get all the technology together. So let's just open it up for Q&A now. Anybody want to chat?
I think Liz was going to talk about one of the cold weather shoes. I wanted to hear about that because like I'd be interested if like what do you wear when you have colder weather and you're still trying to have the 4Fs?
Yes, thank you. I forgot about Liz's 3 other pairs of shoes.
Well, I'll go before I touch on that, Matthew. I'll just quickly kind of make a point of the other shoe that I wear when it's fall and not summer. These ones are actually, you mentioned having a very good dress up pair of shoes, and these are kind of my go-to. I don't go fancy places, but they're called the Vivo Addies. And they also, to me, all my Vivos that I've ever tried, they fit the 4Fs, they're flexible. But as Ruth pointed out, the toe always goes in. And I thank you for pointing that out because I noticed it, but I didn't comprehend what was going on with noticing the shoe. Anyway, these I just wanted to mention because they do dress up, and I did look at Revivo right now, and they have them in all kinds of different colors. They're not on the Vivo website, but the Revivo where they refurbish them, they have them in multitude of colors. My favorite part about them is the sole though. I love that it's like a foot, sorry if you can't see that. It's like a footprint. So I think that's really cute. But to go on with the cold weather shoes, these ones here are called the, the name just slipped me, Tracker 2 FG or FG2. And these I bought them in Ottawa at the TFC shop pre-COVID. So I've had them now 2018, 2017 maybe. So they've lasted me a number of winters. I'm terrible at taking care of leather. So this year was the first year that I actually did some leather treatment on them, and they are still holding up very well. They say that they're not waterproof, but I don't walk through puddles with them. They do come with the Vivo, like the cold weather insole, which is, I've never have any issues. I don't need to wear extra socks. And being in Nova Scotia, I don't get winters as cold as Ottawa might, but I do get really cold weather here, freezing snow, and I walk on the snow in these. They are, again, they fit the 4Fs. They're flexible, they're foot shaped. And like, as Ruth pointed out, yes, you can bend them backwards as well. There's not a lot of lining to them, but being leather, I find that keeps the heat in with my feet. I'm notorious. I like things that I can just slip on. So what I've done, what I did previously, I'll share a semi-funny story, is I had them laced to this point and I had them tied, which left a very long loop on them. And I just left the loops hanging, and I was getting on public transit and I face planted, because what happened is the laces caught on these eye loops. The way that they're designed, if you have a bit of a long loop hanging, they'll catch. And so I was walking and I caught, and I ended up face planting. I laughed at it. It's a funny situation, but I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. How can I mitigate this? So then I just the loops aren't big enough now, but I just kind of put them over the tongue, and that mitigated that. But it allowed me to just step into the shoes. I'm lazy. I like my boots to just slip on, slip off, but the tongue is a little thick. So then that kind of stuck out and wasn't overly appealing. But now what I do is I just leave them laced, and I just kind of lace them like this once they're on, and then just go around with the other side and loop, and then they stay laced very easily, still slip on and off. I've worn them hiking. I've worn them, as I said, throughout winter and everywhere. So they are very warm. They're my go-to shoes. The investment, I don't remember what they cost, but as I said, I've had them now almost 4 years at least. So they've lasted for the cost of them. They're definitely worth the investment.
Liz, you said you don't wear socks with well, let's talk about socks.
Yeah, so I try not to wear socks. Actually, someone on the community was asking about that. So I have some toe socks. Otherwise, I believe Nick and Liz might have also pointed it out. If you don't wear socks, your feet become climatized. So I live in a cold environment, and often, especially in the winter, the floors in my house are very cold. So I don't wear socks even indoors unless it's a very, very cold day and I'm like, okay, I want something on my feet. So I don't really buy thick wool socks. My feet are often cold normally, but because I've been acclimatizing my feet to the cold, I'm not noticing it, and my feet actually warm up more when I'm exposing them to that environment. And then sometimes I'll step outside in the snow and come in and my feet feel amazing. So yeah, just normal thin cotton socks, linen socks, whatever, the really just bare minimum thin socks is all I wear in these, and they're perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'll touch maybe Leah and Matthew, you can say anything about socks that you like too, or don't like, but just want to pinpoint what Liz is saying about the SAID principle, right? So specific adaptation to impose demands. I tend to think, I've always thought I have like cold feet, and more following sort of that principle, the more that I expose my feet to certain inputs, like different types of temperatures, I do notice that my feet are changing, and they can adapt very quickly to whatever temperature I expose them to. So the only time I really wear socks is when I'm playing tennis, and I think that might just be out of habit and fear of getting a blister. But that has been, I think it would be wonderful to talk about this, because that has been a lot of questions in the community about what socks to wear. And I prefer to wear socks as little as possible. And I noticed too that when I'm giving my feet natural inputs, which is going to be a topic of discussion in our Explorer chat this week, that if the texture that I'm walking on is natural, it's even more obvious how adaptable my feet are. And it's usually, unless I'm walking on like cold concrete or cold tile, that I feel the need for like doing something to my feet that's necessary for more comfort. So Leah and Matthew, do either of you have ideas about socks or what you're wearing, when and why?
I'm a huge sock fan, but maybe that's just because that's how I grew up. My mom always said, if I have cold feet, I'm gonna get sick. So I think I just have this like mindset of like, I'm gonna get a sore throat as soon as my feet are cold. So I love wearing socks all the time, actually. However, I have not. I mean, right now it's really warm outside too, but I have not really been wearing socks, especially not when I'm wearing these shoes, like the easy slip-ons. We do have socks. They're also 5-toe, just like our shoes, and that has been working out really well for me. Wait, yeah.
So you wear socks just around the house, and when you wear socks, you always wear your 5-toe socks, because some of the things that people are asking about are, wide toe box socks. And I found a couple pairs that are not individual toes, but that are just like a wider toe box, and they're not that much wider. I still really have to stretch them and I usually wear my toe spacers when I'm wearing socks.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I find, and maybe you can speak to this, is that I wear through any toe socks, whether it's smart wool. If I'm wearing socks that have individual toes, I wear right through that big toe, like within a week. So
I have not ever had that. Has
No.
never been my problem. Not once. No.
No, Matthew either. What about you,
That's
Matthew?
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, since we usually live in such warm climate, and growing up, I didn't like to wear socks a whole lot, except if I was wearing shoes. And so now I've begun just wearing almost exclusively the toe socks, because I like to have the toe socks with the toe spreaders on top of them. It's a little bit better than, I think, having the contact right on, like wearing it inside. That's just my preference. And I don't really like Ruth was saying, when you have the normal type of sock, it's kind of seems a little bit self-defeating, because it's still squeezing your foot essentially inside of a wider toe box and not letting your feet splay as much. So I really just, I prefer to wear almost exclusively the 5-finger socks. And then like I said, when I wear the zeros, I like to have a wide enough toe box where I can still wear the toe spreaders on top of those socks. And that's what I do when I'm kind of playing sports and stuff, because I've tried to work on my toe splay and stuff like that. And I feel like that's the best way, because I'm kind of lazy about doing a lot of exercises. I try and do them, but I feel like if you're getting a lot of repetition when you're actually playing sports, it's kind of going to give you a little bit better. I see my toes getting a little bit better with the toe splay as well.
Matthew, can I ask you, so when you wear the toe socks with the toe spacers in your shoes, does it feel like, I feel like even though shoes have like a wider toe box, I feel like it still would seem uncomfortable to me. I used to wear far back in the day toe spacers, and I just noticed it was just painful.
Yeah, I mean, a lot are. Like I wear some of them, and it is really squeezing your feet. That's why I was saying, like, I think the issue of how wide the toe box actually is, that's why I think this zero, and your foot shape's gonna, depending upon your foot shape, but for me, I can wear these without it feeling uncomfortable, artificial, or even like thinking about it. It starts to feel really nice. I feel like I get my feet a lot flatter on the ground, like you were saying, and I feel like I'm contacting the ground better, and it's not feeling like it's squeezed, you know, my toes are squeezed, or I'm doing something that I'm kind of trying to force a little bit with. But with some so-called natural shoes, I do definitely feel that it is too tight to wear those 5-finger socks and then also have the toe spreaders on top of it. So that's why I like the zero. But I know what you're saying about a lot of those. I've been testing out the, because I have a pair of the Paluvas as well. And one question I wanted to ask is, do you have other colors for men as well? Because I think like the pink, because here, I know in a lot of places, but especially here in the South, I think like for women, you know, and guys too, whatever, you know, but like for, you know, like the pink is pretty popular. Are there other colors that you have for men?
Yeah, good question. So we actually, I mean, I don't have them here right now. I'm sure Kyle does. And I can like go get them if I can find them fast enough. It's just so hard now that we have so many shoes laying around everywhere. But yeah, we have a black, we have a gray, we have a white, and we have a blue for men right now. And then we have the Napas, the leather shoe in like honey blonde, gray, and black. And then we have a desert boot, and then the Miamis, and this one here in white and in black. And then we have more shoes coming out this fall. So with some more socks. So let's see.
And Leah, to answer the question about what you were saying about the toe spacers and socks, like I'm the opposite of Matthew. I play tennis in the zeros too right now. And I want to wear toe spacers in them, and I can play just a little bit. And he wears correct toes. He wears his 5-finger socks, and then he puts the correct toes in there so that those correct toes don't have loops around the first toe and the 5th toe. I wear like a gel, like the wild toes. And the thing about those is that I wear them inside the sock. And so because I wear through all of my socks, so I don't wear the 5 fingers, but the gel squishes up when I play. So that's why I'm interested. I'm really interested in testing out the Paluva on the tennis court. And I haven't done that yet because I haven't been brave enough yet to just do it, because people really do ask questions about the shoe, and I'm a little shy. But I'm getting more brave about answering questions. But it really does draw attention when you're playing with everybody who's playing in Nikes and Adidas and all the different like big shoe companies. Like it really draws a lot of attention. So I'm excited to play because I'm really interested in having the freedom of that big toe. And
yes,
yes.
Definitely.
But
I mean, that's what I always, yeah, sorry.
No, I'm not going to wear socks with them though, because I think Matthew, he didn't touch on this, but he said he wore them with socks and he felt like he got a little bit of a blister. And I think that is something like the friction of the sock and the shoe. It's a little bit like wearing a lot of layers, too many layers. So, but I am excited to test them without socks, and that's going to be next week.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to hear about that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I feel the same way. It's just something we were just talking about prior to this, like I have just noticed, especially since I have this tendency of having my toes going to the sides, like no matter which shoe I'm going to wear, they're always going to find their way to the outside. And so I like about just wearing 5-toed shoes, especially, I mean, of course, the Paluvas in my case, that I just constantly get a stretch. And to touch base on the toe spacers, I used to like sleep in them, and I woke up in the middle of the night like having to take those off because it was so painful after a certain amount of time. And I just like I wear the Paluvas all the time anywhere, because like even inside the house, because I feel like I get, if in my mind it feels good to have a constant stretch without feeling pain.
But you're
Like
also, and you're also not just stretching those. So I think one of the things that Jim Dooner talked about, who's our head health professional, he talked about like how, you know, we can use the toe spacers and it's really nice to get that passive spread. But the interesting thing about wearing a shoe with the individual toes, like the Vibram 5-finger or the Paluva, is that you're also walking on different textures and strengthening while you're using the different textures in your feet in a way that are strengthening, not just stretching. So stretching is good, but also strengthening too, right? Liz, what do you think about all that business?
I've tried to wear, I've got the wild toes, so I agree. They have the loops on the outside, and I have tried wearing them in my shoes without socks, even just to go, you know, get the mail or whatever. And my pinky toe is where I feel it.
Yes.
And so it's like they fit in my Vivos, they fit in any of them, but after 5 minutes, it's almost agony. I want to get my feet out of there, because while it feels amazing to have my toes spread inside the shoes, it's that friction on the side of my toe that just from the tightness of having that extra loop on the outside. And I am curious if Correct Toes, I believe the one that doesn't have the loops on the sides, how that would work inside the shoes, because you don't have that in there.
Yeah, and he loves them, but for me, I found the Correct Toes to be a little stiff, and I think the Correct Toes are just a matter of preference, really. But it does seem like not having that loop would be beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. I really like just wearing the Correct Toes and just doing this with my toes and getting that squish and having that sensation under my toes. And that's where I agree with you. I found that the Correct Toes felt too stiff to me. They seemed very rigid, and I don't know how that rigidity, when we're wearing natural footwear that allows our feet to move, why would wearing something that's so rigid between your toes be really beneficial? And I'm not saying they're not, but that's just how my mind is processing it, where it's something that's very flexible, like the other ones, the gel ones. Yeah.
Well, and I watch him play tennis, and that's surprising to me, because he puts the socks on and then the Correct Toes, and then he plays like a 2-hour tennis match in there. And but when I put them on, it I feel like they poke and stuff. But on the other hand, the gel ones just squish, they just kind of like ooze out, and then it's like you're not wearing toe spacers at all. So it's like there's got to be some happy medium. But I wanted to ask you, Liz, about your comparison on what we're talking about, like because you wear 2 types of shoes. You wear your runners, which are the 5 fingers, and then you have the Vivo, which I found to be a little too narrow for my foot at the toe, at the tip of the toes. So how do you compare like the difference, like what do your toes do, and how do then you transition from going from a 5-finger shoe to a 1 full toe box?
Well, like for running in particular, I gave them to my mom, but I had the New Balance Minimus, and they actually almost look like they had a wider toe box than these. The current style isn't the same as the ones that I had. So when I ran, I noticed my toes, because I'm very body aware. I like to feel those sensations. And I noticed that my toes were doing this, like inside my runner as I made the movement. And I find when I'm wearing the 5 fingers, my toes have that ability to do that a lot more. And I'm noticing, like I feel like I run on an old road that's all cracked and the pavement is not very good. So I'm really feeling those cracks. And as you mentioned, with the ability to feel everything underneath. So it's like if I'm landing and 2 toes are up and 1 is down, I'm more balanced, because that whole shoe is not twisting to make that fit. The toes are able to bend so that I'm able to make that step and the toes can do what they're meant to do. But I'm not really, I don't know how else to answer your question about like the transition. I don't feel any pain. There's nothing like that. But I also was someone, I moved to a rural area. So I live in the country compared to when I lived in like the main city. And when I was living in the city and I'd be running, I actually was just like, screw my shoes. And when I got to go around the lake, I would rip my shoes off, still shove my socks in my shoes and run holding onto each shoe over pavement even. And I'm like, how did I just do this? But my feet are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And because I'm listened to my body, I knew that my body wanted me out of those shoes. And so that I found was the beginning of a transition to be like, okay, I don't need these conventional runners. I need something that allows my toes to splay. And then from there, going into those runners that allowed my toes to splay a little more, I went to the 5 fingers because I heard that they could be a little bit more beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And so after I notice actually when I'm done my run, I feel like I just had like a reflexology treatment on my foot. So it's like I really can tell that my foot felt all those curves and everything that I was running over, all the little stones. And it's like a nice massage for the feet. And so when I'm driving, I have to drive to where I run. And when I'm driving home, I'm just like, my feet feel amazing right now. It's so invigorating. So, yeah.
That's so funny. I had a similar experience when we went hiking. I put my shoe in what I thought was like a reasonable shoe, and it was fairly a natural shoe to hike like 4 miles or something this summer. And like as we were walking across the parking lot, I had a panic, and I was like, I need to get out of these shoes. And so I went to what I think Leah was describing. I just switched into like a water sock, and then we proceeded to walk like 4 miles around this lake, and my feet were so much happier. And it's not very often, I usually will override those impulses, like I gotta get out of the shoe now, and I didn't, and I switched, and I asked, I put everybody kind of at an inconvenience, like we got to go back to the car and get those other shoes. And I was so happy I did, because I felt the exact same way, like just walking over the twigs and the leaves, and I got to step in puddles, and it was really nice. So
well, I find listening to your body, and when you hear that call, go for it. Yeah. Because that's your body knowing that you're in a place where you're full of all these sensations and your body wants to feel it. It always does, and your body knows best. So that's awesome that you listened, and you really, even though it inconvenienced other people, perhaps you also inspired people to be like, you know what, it's okay to put a different pair of shoes on once I feel uncomfortable, instead of going through a walk being like, my feet are not comfortable. You're going to enjoy the walk so much more on many levels if you're comfortable, right? Yeah. That's awesome.
And your family's always happy to accommodate you.
Oh yeah, of course, always.
Well,
Liz, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, Liz, how was it transitioning to a 5-toed shoe in like the terms of like it being so minimalist? Like, did you, especially since you're saying you're running in the 5 fingers, did you do it really, like, did you start with like walking and then you like slowly eased into running?
Well, like I mentioned, I was already in minimalist shoes for running prior to, so those ones already had a very thin sole. But when I transitioned to the 5 fingers, I was just like, I got to try these out, and I just went for a run. So and I'm not going to say that's how everyone should do it, but that was just my experience, because I'd already transitioned and I was already running barefoot around my property, so I already knew how to engage with the ground and listen to what my feet were telling me. So I was surprised, actually, the first run that I went, I beat my PR in a long time, and that was with the 5 fingers. So it's like, was it because I was really excited and hyper because I had new shoes, or was it the shoes? I don't know, but I'll say it was the shoes that allowed me to have a better run.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew, you have any closing comments or any questions?
No, I don't think so. It's been very interesting to hear all this stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, well, then I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up here. And if nobody else has.
I do have one other suggestion, just where we were talking about socks and then we kind of went right into the toe spacers. One of the things that's kind of going around my brain when people are looking for natural shaped socks, I guarantee everybody has a friend that knits, hand knit socks. And if you ask someone, knitting patterns are very easy to change a little bit of a shape with it. And like I buy like a lot of socks from friends, and I'd never thought to ask them, but some of them do make wider toe box socks. And you can find people that they will knit with a finer wool than like a very thick one to get a very thin sock. And you can ask them, like, can you just make the toe box bigger? And that's just a matter of them knowing ahead of time to just add 8 or 10 stitches perhaps to the toe box, as opposed to tapering the pattern in. They just leave it straight. And then there you would be able to get a pair of socks that is made with love by someone who loves what they're doing. So right away, it's going to feel better to wear. You're also supporting someone local, chances are, because it's your friend, but also you're getting a sock that is shaped more like a foot. That's just like, I've struggled to find any more foot shape or natural shape socks. And that's where I was like, you know what, if I can't find them, I don't even need them. I'm not going to wear socks. So that's more of.
That is a freaking great idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That is a good place to wrap it up. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm just going to say thank you for listening, and don't hang up yet, but I'm going to end the recording. So thanks, everyone. See you in the next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this is going to be a hit.
Hello everyone, these are my favorite shoes. These are the Barefoot, B-E-A-R, foot shoes. This model is the Ursa's suede version, color black. They offer a brown and a like gray and this salmon color now. These are very wide. The foot boxes, your toe box is huge for your feet. You can see it's one of the widest ones, wider than my Vivos. And as far as, okay, so foot shaped, flat, flexible, and field ground. They're extremely flexible this way, that way. It almost feels like it's just a slipper with a very thin rubber sole. I believe it's 7 millimeters. And the ground feel is amazing. I've always heard Vivo's ground feel is great, but to me, these, I feel even more of the ground with these. You can see these are worn quite a bit. They're still fine for me to wear. You can see on the inside, it's worn a lot with my heel. Now, I do wear these with socks and without socks a lot of times now. It's been something new I've been doing. And I've had these for, I think I got them in June of last year, so just over a year, and I wear them for everything. I take them to work, I work out in them, I run in them, I jump, everything you can think of. Basically, if I have to be in shoes, these are the shoes I'm wearing. Now, I do have some other shoes that if I need something more dressy looking, I'll wear those, but for the most part, it's these 100% of the time. If I could change anything about them, that's hard because I love and hate the same thing, which is this part in the back, because they're so flat right here, or they're flat right here, and then there's no heel because they're so flexible, not flat, flexible. So there's no rubber on the heel here, so you're able to flex this fully, and you can kind of move your foot around in that. But because of that, I get a lot of wear, especially when I'm driving in the car, and this heel is just kind of rubbing against, switching between brake and the accelerator, whatnot. But that would be the only thing, and there's more wear on my right than on my left. I drive an automatic, so it makes sense. That would be the only thing I would change, but at the same time, I like it because it's flexible and it can flatten out here as well too. So I would and I wouldn't change it at the same time. It's kind of just, I can't have both things, so I have to choose. And other than that, there's nothing I have to say bad about them. I really like them. They're great, and I'm planning on ordering some more pairs.